Hi, and thank you for tuning in to the Patricia Show. I am Patricia. Please press subscribe and like. Now, this show, like I said, is really meant to empower people. What I found that people mostly complain in their life because they have a hard time with getting money and finding good relationships, intimate relationships, and their spirituality, their connection with God. Those are the three things that people really struggle with in their lives. I think the number one thing is money because, people commit suicide when they get in so much debt. I remember when I hearing about the stock market crash back in the 1920. And I couldn't believe that people were jumping off of buildings and killing themselves because they had lost all their money. I used to give what you would call psychic readings when I was younger. And that was the main issue. People either didn't have money or their mans and women were acting up on them and they wanted to be loved, basically. That was the two main things. I didn't have many people coming to me about spirituality or about God, but it was mostly love and money. So that's why I started to show off, trying to get you rooted and becoming powerful and attracting money to you so that we can move on to other topics. Now, I kind of kept putting off the issue of talking about God because that is the issue that really makes people get upset. So we're going to talk about it, but I'm going to take this slow because I have some really crucial information to tell you about God. And if you understand who you are, then you understand who God is. And you really shouldn't have any more problems in your life, really, if you really understand who you are and who God is. But what I want to say now is I want to talk to people because why do people get so up? If you say anything about Jesus, people get so upset. I remember a while ago, I think his name was Dan. Oh, I can't remember his name. But he wrote a book implying that Jesus was not the Christ. And people wanted to tear this man apart. Wanted to tear him apart. The man couldn't even go outside because people wanted to destroy him because he said that Jesus wasn't Christ. And this is the funny thing about it. The people who wanted to destroy him had no proof that Jesus was the Christ. They were just going to church and listening to what they teach in church. You had no evidence whatsoever that Jesus was the Christ. So it should have been an aha moment to be thinking, let me think about this. Let me see what's really going on. Is he really the Christ? Let me see is what the church been teaching me the right thing. But instead, nobody did that. They just wanted to attack this man because the church told you that he was. And for the life of me, even when I was a little girl, I didn't understand why people would put the church on the pedestal like that. Especially, I just didn't get it. To me, it was like, hey, in the Catholic Church, we have these priests molesting children. In the other churches, they take in your money. And some of the churches are telling you gotta wait till you die to get your blessing. But they riding around with the best cars and airplanes and $3,000 suits, but you gotta wait to get your blessing. Something's not right about that picture. So I didn't understand, why do people take for Why do people just take at face value what the church is teaching is correct? I never understood that. I've always been what you call, I call it a truth seeker. When you seek for the truth, that's all. That's all I ever wanted, was just tell me the truth. And I just didn't understand why people in the church didn't seek the truth themselves. I had asked a friend of mine once. I said, why do they just take everything the preacher says as gospel? And she said to me, "Oh, because the preacher went to school. So if he went to school, he should know what he's talking about." And then some people would say, "Well, the preacher was under an anointing, and so they should know what to say." But then, then they came out with investigative reporting back in the 70s and the 80s. And they proved that some of these preachers were only preaching to get money because they had told their friends, or, before they became a preacher, that the quickest way to get rich was to be a preacher. And that's why they went into preaching. And this was exposed, widely on TV. I remember when the guy Dan I just told you about, his name was Dan Brown, I think. The guy Dan Brown, he 2020 came online and had went over to Egypt and had got the original Bible. And in the Bible, there were things in there that the church had not taught the public. So I think her name is Elizabeth Varley or Vargan. She's a lady who used to be on 2020 with short black hair. It was her. She said that she had contacted the Catholic Church for comments about what she had found out under this investigation about the Bible. And the Catholic Church told her not to reveal some of the information that she had, not to reveal it to the public, because they had not taught the public this. They had not revealed this truth or that part of the Bible about Jesus to the public. 2020 revealed it anyway, with that note saying that the Catholic Church did not want it revealed because they had not told people about that. When I sat there and I watched this with my own ears, my own eyes, nobody told me to watch, about this. Like, nobody. I saw this. I sit there thinking to myself, oh my God, people gonna really wake up now and see that the church has been lying all along. And the truth is gonna be revealed. The next day, there was nothing about it in the news. Nothing about it on TV. It was just like she didn't even say that on the show. She didn't even reveal that the Catholic Church didn't want certain things to reveal from the original Bible because they hadn't told the people. It was just like she never said it. Nobody, not one person came forth to question anything. And I thought to myself, wow, the church is really good when it comes to brainwashing people. Then I remember, it was on YouTube a long time ago, though. This priest came forward and said that if you give him a child 4 years old, he could teach that child, and that child would be a Catholic for the rest of their life. So basically, you give him a child at 4 or 5, and he could brainwash that child so good until it would never question. And that's true. Because people don't question anything in the church. And when you ask them, like when some people do stand up and want to ask a question, the church will say, well, you shouldn't question God. I remember when I was younger and I had questions, to my mom, and I would ask her questions. Let me explain something, my background a little bit so you'll understand. We were raised a Muslim under Elijah Muhammad in America. When when I was small, I don't know. I didn't believe what they were teaching. Something in my stomach used to hurt really bad when they would talk about, because see, they didn't teach that white people were superior like most places. They taught that black people were superior, and we were the head race. And they taught that white people were devils and white people had lice and all this different stuff. So when they would talk against the white people like that, I felt so uncomfortable in my spirit. And I used to say to myself, even as a child, which I really didn't understand, but I would say to myself, well, God is in all of us. That much I knew, even though they didn't teach that God was in you. They taught that God was out there somewhere on the throne. Allah was out there somewhere, but not in you. But I knew from it deep inside my gut that God was in me. And so there was no superior race. That God was all of our fathers and he loved us all the same. I knew that. I just, felt it in my spirit. So one time I had went to my mother and I was questioning something Elijah Muhammad had taught. I remember this clear as day because as I was standing there, my mother said, don't you ever question God. And I looked back at her because I was going out of her room, and I turned around and I said, but I'm not questioning God. I'm questioning Elijah Muhammad. And my mother looked at me and said, they're one and the same. I was like shocked because that's when I realized that they were looking at Elijah Muhammad the same way as Christians were looking at Christ. As Jesus, Jesus. And they thought he was one and the same as God. Which they are, but we all are. It's not I'm going to get you and teach you and set you apart from everybody else. We all are children of God, but I'll get into that later. I just want to show you how brainwashed some of us are. I always wanted to seek the truth. So even when my mother said that, honey, it just went out of one ear and came out the other. Because I'm thinking to myself, and I must have been about 12. And I'm thinking to myself, honey, when I get out of this church, old enough to get out of this church, I am getting out and I'm going to seek the truth myself. Thank God my mother had said when we get 14, we could get out if we wanted to. If we didn't believe in what it was teaching. And we could go into our own, find a religious to go into. We had to go into a religious, but we, could go around to different ones. And so that is what I did. I didn't go around to different churches until I was 19, but I did get out of that Muslim religious at 14. And then I would talk to my friends, and as I got older, I would talk to my friends. They were very brainwashed. It was like whatever the church said, hey, that's it. There is, what do you mean you searching for the truth? They would tell me. What the church said is the truth. Ain't no other truth. I said, yeah, it is. It is, because I feel like my gut feeling is telling me there's a lot more to this religious thing than they're teaching you. This is what I felt deep inside of me. So I remember so clearly and plainly me going to God and saying to him, I really don't understand what's going on. Can you please teach me who Jesus is? Is he your only son? Please teach me this and reveal this to me. Because remember, as a Muslim, again, they put their emphasis on Elijah Muhammad, not Jesus. So I asked that question. And lo and behold, the years after I asked that question, God began to teach me, sending me to secret documents, people in the church, high up in the church. And the teaching just continued to go until I really got it and learned it. So this is part 1, and I'm going to do part 2. Thank you so much for listening to The Patricia Show.